Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. This video shows the last living polio survivor from the 1950s, Paul Alexander. He still uses his iron lung all day, every day. There are spiders that capture bats and large birds and eat their living bodies. Llama spit is actually projectile vomit. You never stop seeing. When your eyes are closed, you're actually just looking at your eyelids. And now, your eyes are closed. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Being the second most fragile organ in your body, a single punch can completely rupture your liver. A study conducted over several years found that the TSA failed to catch 95% of guns, drugs, and other illegal paraphernalia going through airports.
Let me tell you how this is gonna work. You ain't gonna tell me shit. Listen. Suck my Shut up. Listen to me. Suck my you man. Listen. Suck my You will be here in the court on Monday. You'll be here sucking my
This worker lost her eye after being punched by a customer. On November 12, 19-year-old Bianca Palmer was working her shift at Habit Burger Grill when she was attacked by 20-year-old Isaac Carter. Bianca was punched in the face after she intervened and asked Isaac to stop bullying a boy in the restaurant who had special needs. They got in each other's faces, and that's when Isaac threw the first punch at Bianca. Bianca said that after she was punched in the face twice, she thought that she was crying, but it was actually blood dripping out of her eye. Bianca was then rushed to the hospital where she found out that she was going to lose her right eye. Isaac was arrested and faces felony charges of aggravated assault. Bianca's family has also launched a GoFundMe if you guys want to help out to cover her medical costs.
This is the scary story about the movie theater. One night a girl was at the movie theater with her boyfriend when she noticed a man staring at her while she was waiting for her popcorn. She told her boyfriend, but he said he's probably just a creep. When the girl and the boyfriend sat down in their seats in the theater, she noticed the man sitting a couple seats down, just staring at her. She didn't tell her boyfriend because she didn't want to sound crazy. Halfway through the movie, the man got up and left the theater. The girl realized they got a sign of relief. A couple minutes went by when her boyfriend got up to use the bathroom. 15 minutes went by and he still wasn't back. She began to worry. She tried calling him multiple times, but he didn't answer once. She then left the theater to go look for him. When she got out to the hallway, she noticed a bunch of people screaming for help and standing around a body. She then started to scream and cry when she realized it was her boyfriend. He was brutally stabbed and lay dead on the ground. The girl then noticed a note next to his body, and when she read it, her heart skipped a beat. It said in all caps, "I wanted the girl."
I encourage you to go read about your religion and the millions and millions of people that were slaughtered or exiled because they didn't agree with your thoughts. I don't know what you're talking about. That's because they don't teach you about this stuff, or else it's going to make you question some things. Like, have you heard of the Crusades? The Spanish Inquisition? Have you heard of the slave Bible? Did you read about what they did to the Native Americans? So, like, for centuries, all over the world, the options were pick Jesus or die. I got to read about my own ancestry recently, and I learned that I'm still here. They were forced to convert. They had to give up, my family had to give up their original religion, because the other option was death. So I'm going to continue dragging the millions of people that follow this mythology, because I don't think you guys understand it. It might bring you some comfort, but that's because you guys aren't paying attention to what you're signing up for.
Don't even get me started on the fact that your guys' religion normalizes cannibalism. Your God raped his own child of a mother just so he could exist, and it upholds the patriarchy, which is the biggest reason why we have people like in the Epstein files today.
This is why you always want to double check before getting into your car. 18-year-old Peyton Washington was shot 3 times after her and her friend entered a car that they thought was theirs. On April 2023, Peyton and her friend Heather were carpooling on their way home from cheer practice when Heather opened a car door that she thought was hers. 25-year-old Pedro Rodriguez was in the passenger seat, and once Heather realized that it wasn't her car, she apologized and walked away. But Pedro did not let that slide. Instead, he came out of his car and began shooting at at the teens. The girls quickly got into their car and drove away, but Peyton was shot in the leg and back. She suffered life-threatening injuries and was airlifted to a nearby hospital. Her injuries were so bad that her spleen had to be removed, and now Pedro was charged with deadly conduct, and he may be spending 10 years in prison if convicted. But you know what, guys? This actually happens more often than you think. I remember a couple years ago when I was just chilling in my car at night and two random men just came in and thought I was their Uber. I was caught off guard and I was ready to just jump out of my car. And then we kind of looked at each other and one of the guys was like, "This is our Uber, right?" And I'm like, "No, this is not your Uber." It's a fight or flight situation. That's how I felt in the moment. But in this case, these girls, they apologized, closed the car door and walked away. And this guy still came after them with a gun and shot them. So
there are a lot of weird images in the Epstein files, but to me, this was just one of the spookiest. You can see in the bottom right corner of the document, that's the EFTA number if you don't believe that this is in the files for some reason. By the way, everything I've ever reported on Epstein is in the files. You can verify every single piece of reporting for yourself. I just want to make that very clear. But this goes exactly in line with what I've been saying about Epstein, especially on my YouTube for a very long time now. It seems like in every property that Epstein owned, he decorated the place with graphic sexual art. There were nude photos of women on the walls. There were nude paintings of women on the walls. There were statues of nude children. I've talked about this in videos. I mean, there are pictures of all of these things. Epstein even had a woman's rear end, a statue of a rear end sticking out of a wall. He had body parts like a child's leg with a ballerina shoe on it sticking out of a wall in one of his mansions. I mean, some of this art was truly disturbing. And you know, I get it. Like, I'm kind of an artist myself. I understand expression and expressing yourself, and people have their own ways of expressing themselves. So the art itself to me is not necessarily creepy or weird. I mean, it is creepy to me, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, this might be the artist's just way of expressing themselves. However, for me, it's the fact that Epstein more than likely had these things in his home or on his property. That's what gives this art a spooky, creepier kind of vibe, if you know what I'm saying. Because if I was in Jeffrey Epstein's house and I turned around the corner and I saw that thing staring at me at the end of the hallway, I mean, what the fuck? But we don't even know if this was in Epstein's house. We have no idea where this statue is. Now, interestingly, what I could find about this statue online is that it is a statue depicting Kate Moss, the supermodel, and the artist has described this as the rebirth of Venus. Now, in the article that I found, they talk about the fact that there's a original sculpture, and then years later, the same artist did the whole sculpture again, but this time in solid, pure gold. And it's meant to be inspired by an Indian sculpture of Shiva and a yoga position. Now, this was displayed at the British Museum, but if you look at actual pictures from the British Museum, it's pretty clearly not in the room that is seen in that picture in the Epstein files. So what does that mean? I mean, just look at the background here, look at how the statue is displayed. This is how it looked in the British Museum, and it's very different. So does this mean that Epstein himself owned one of the sculptures? Did one of his friends own one of these sculptures? What's the point of this picture being included in the files? Is this something that the FBI/DOJ wanted us to see and talk about as a distraction? I don't really know. But I did want to bring it up because I found this whole thing to just be strange.
The 17-year-old kid died and they took his brain and put it in a jar in a museum without his family's consent. This is 17-year-old Jesse Shipley behind me, and he died in a car crash. Later on, they extracted his brain and put it in a morgue/museum kind of thing. Now, the only reason the family found out is because the friends of Jesse went to this like a morgue museum thing and saw that it was labeled Jesse Shipley's brain. So, is this legal? It is legal, but it's kind of weird. Jesse underwent an autopsy, and medical examiners by law are not required to report or return any organs to the family. They don't even have to know. Obviously, Jesse's family was really mad about this. They held a funeral. They had no idea his brain was gone and stuff like that. They took it to the court. You know, they sued the city for emotional damages and distress because obviously they can't get away with a law that's already passed. They don't technically have to return the organs, but this emotionally disturbed them. Initially, they got $1 million from it. However, a mid-level court decided to downgrade it and they got $600,000 from that. They redid a second funeral with his organs now back. Just because something is legal doesn't mean that it's right. I think they should have let the parents know. I understand you have to do an autopsy, and that's fine. You know, in an autopsy, you have to cut the body up, you have to cut it open, you have to extract things. But I think the kid, especially being a 17-year-old minor, should have at least, let his parents decide what happened to his organs and stuff like that, especially because they had a funeral for him. What do you guys think about this? This is murky waters here with this case.
This is why you should be scared of jogging down trails at night. Jason said that he used to jog a trail behind his house almost every night. It was peaceful, just trees and dirt and the occasional owl or hawk. He said that he's always loved birds, so when he heard the sound of wings flapping overhead, he slowed down, thinking that maybe he'd spotted something rare. But he said that it didn't sound like the flutter of feathers. It was heavier, thicker almost, leathery. Then he heard a rustling sound in the big oak tree to his left. He said that he stepped off the trail, squinting into the branches. His heart skipped. He thought maybe that it was an eagle, but it wasn't. He said that perched on the tree was something that he'll never forget, man-shaped and tall, wings wrapped around it like a cloak, red eyes glowing from a face that looked almost human, but wrong in every way. Jason said that it turned its head towards him. He couldn't breathe. His whole body locked up for a few seconds. And then he ran, harder than he's ever run in his life. He said that the flapping sound followed him and it sounded like it was getting closer, but he never looked back. Not until he hit the street light at the edge of the trail. He spun around, gasping, ready to see it swooping toward him, but it was gone. Just trees, silence. Jason said that he doesn't jog that trail anymore, and he never will again.
Normal photos with disturbing backstories. The guy in this photo looks happy. Physicist Harold Agnew is carrying the plutonium core of the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki in World War II. It would claim the lives of 80,000 people. The friends in this photo look happy, but they hadn't heard the horn of the train behind them, its headlights backlighting their final selfie.
Test your phobia. Thalassophobia.
Yo. All hands. Hoist the colors high. Roses and letters never now some have died and some are alive.
He made an ad online looking for someone to eat, and somehow someone actually responded. Armin Meiwes was born in Germany in 1961. He had a very isolated childhood after his father left, and then he developed some strange fantasies. Not normal imaginary friends, but fantasies about people being consumed. As he got older, those thoughts never really went away, and it started to become something he wanted to act on. By the late 1990s and 2000s, Armin was living alone and working as a computer technician. But secretly, he was spending time on the internet on forums that are found on the dark web. On one of those forums, people openly discussed cannibalism and even shared their recipes. And in 2001, Armin posted an ad. He was looking for a man between a certain age who would agree to be unalived and then eaten. And unbelievably, someone responded. The man who responded was Bernd Brandes, and he was a successful engineer from Berlin and willingly agreed to everything. So the two agreed to meet at Armin's house, and they talked, drank coffee together, watched TV like it was a normal visit. What happened next was filmed and lasted for hours. At one point, Armin attempted to cook a part of Bernd's body, but he burned it, so he gave it to his dog. Bernd remained conscious for the part of the time before eventually passing. After that, Armin hung the body, dismembered it, and put parts of it into the freezer. Over the next several months, Armin consumed parts of the body. Then he tried to do it again. He posted another ad online looking for a second victim, but this time, this person went to the police. When investigators searched his home, they found everything, including the video recordings. What makes this case even more disturbing is Armin's defense. He claimed that it was completely consensual and the victim agreed to everything. And this led to a huge legal debate. If someone agrees to it, is it still a crime? At first, Armin was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison, but after public outrage,
Two places on earth if you go to, you will die. Part 2. Number 1, we have death row in Bolivia. This is a very narrow road on the edge of a cliff that's 2,000 feet tall. Unfortunately, it claims hundreds of victims each year. Do not come here or you will die. Number 2, we have Lake Natron in Tanzania. Although this may look very cool, this is a very toxic lake with a pH level of 10.5. This is the equivalent of swimming in bleach. This lake is so dangerous that it kills all living creatures that come in contact with it. Side effects may include burning to the eyes and skin, and sometimes death. Do not come here or you will die. Like and follow for more.
People that have been to heaven and hell, part 1.
Jordan Samuel believes that he's been to heaven and hell. When Jordan was 15, he was raised by a single mom because his parents had split up.
Being a curious kid, he would always ask questions about God. Like, how does he exist? How could one man die for me? And every time he would get kicked out of class for questioning it. The third time he got kicked out, he said, I'm done. I'm never believing in God again.
When his parents split up, Jordan for 4 years was doing bad behaviors. He would steal cars, street race, and drink and drive. After a while, he wanted to change his life, so he started working at an oil rig company.
One day after work, Jordan decided to smoke. But he didn't know that what he was smoking was laced with other drugs.
His heart started fluttering, and he went out.
He said he started hearing screaming and people telling him to go back, run.
He said it sounded like people were being tortured. All of a sudden, a bright hand reached out and grabbed him.
He said that God started to judge him and he felt horrible. The Lord hugged him and said, I forgive you. And he woke up.
His girlfriend says he's in a better mood, he smiles more, and his personality has changed.
Do you think he was visited by God, or was it one big hallucination? Like this video if you want a part 2 of people who've been to heaven and hell.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 45. Egyptian mummies would still be considered one of the rarest artifacts to find up to date, if medieval Europeans hadn't consumed a majority of the dead mummies' bodies, because they believed back then that if you consumed embalmed dead bodies, that it would actually heal your ailments. Please do not try this next one, but it is actually possible that you can convince somebody who has no history of mental illness in their family that they have a severe mental illness in roughly only a week. Please do not try to convince your brother that he has schizophrenia. That would not be a good idea, and it would not end up well. Throughout the filming of The Exorcist, you hear the possessed girl let out multiple demonic screams, but little did you know that those screams weren't humanly possible, and they were actually the sounds of squealing pigs who were being taken to a slaughterhouse. And last but certainly not least, it is said the people who practice the religion of Zoroastrianism actually leave dead bodies up in towers so that vultures can consume their remains. To us it may seem a little strange, but to them it's actually a sign of respect. But when I die, please don't put my body in a tower so I can be eaten by vultures. It's just not my thing.
The biggest civil war between chimpanzees ever is happening right now. So in Uganda, there's the world's largest group of wild chimpanzees. Now these chimps had been living together in harmony until recently. They used to do things like hold hands with each other, but now they're actively trying to end each other and nobody really knows why. Now there are two groups of these chimps known as the Western group and the Central group. And until about 2015, these groups got along until things started to, change. Around this time, there was a big incident and the groups that used to interact with each other a lot started to just stick with their own groups and interact with each other less and less. Then following incidents after this just became a little more intense and aggressive. Then in around 2018, members of the Western group started actively attacking the Central group of chimpanzees. Since then, there have been 24 targeted attacks, and at least 7 adult males and 24 infants from the Central group have passed away during these attacks. But researchers believe that those numbers are actually higher. Now, as to why exactly exactly this is happening, researchers do have some theories. All the way back in 2014, for some unknown reason, 5 adult males and 1 female were ended, and researchers believe that may have caused some unrest between the groups. There was also a respiratory epidemic in 2017 among the 2 groups. 25 chimps passed from this epidemic, and one of the adult males that passed during this epidemic was apparently one of the last adult males that kept the 2 groups in harmony with each other.
This nice looking man here is Kyle, and one day Kyle just wants to go out for the day and enjoy himself, so he went to the local play park, where he climbed on the playground equipment and told the kids where babies come from.
Fun fact, El Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele has announced that the government is going to be paying the water and electricity bills for all of El Salvador's citizens for the month of January. The government's committed $80 to each household to cover the electricity bill and $30 for the water bill, which will cover about 95% of the households in El Salvador. But commercial businesses, government entities, and shopping centers are not covered. And it's automatic. There's no need for people to apply for anything. People have been told to just not pay their bills for January. And if they already paid, then February is automatically covered. Recognizing the financial struggle for El Salvadorian families after Christmas and with the school year starting in January, President Bukele rolled out this program to support families and ensure the well-being of all of El Salvador's citizens. President Bukele also reminded families that the government is now covering 100% of the cost for children attending public schools, which includes school supplies, uniforms, shoes, computers, and tablets.
These are the world's most haunted dolls, starting at number 4. Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Kerry Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3. Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2. Annabelle. Known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren, we do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters and also other letters, like permission to look at him, and no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
Would be the first person to say that I love when you guys send me pictures. I love that. When I am noticing something in the picture that's creepier than what you've noticed in the picture, you can't imagine how disturbing that is for me. I got sent this picture, right? And it's from a school basement. They said they found a creepy room. I'm not gonna say the school. I'm not gonna say who sent it. Pretty benign, like the message, like they were like, look at this creepy room that I found. Nobody knows this is in the basement of my school. But I looked a bit closer and I found something that I think is wrong with this picture. Of course, before we get into it, if you're loving Creep Time, go click the link in my bio so you can listen to Creep Time, the podcast. So this photo, if you look right above where my head is, right at the wall, that is a foot. Like, that's a toe. I tried to zoom in like as much as I could, and I know it's very grainy, but you can't convince me that that is not a toe. And if that's a toe, that it means someone is in this room. Someone is standing behind that wall. If I increase the contrast, if you can see it any better, to think somebody was just hiding in this room.